Good morning. Welcome. Yeah, I'm Wilfried Beeck. I'm the founder and CEO of ePages, and a very warm welcome from me and my team to the third Commerce Summit that we're hosting here in Hamburg. And glad to see a lot of familiar faces, partners, technology partners, employees, of course, that have traveled to be here today. And I'm especially proud that some partners and e-commerce experts that we've invited have gone the extra mile, literally. We have some people who've been flying in from the US as far as San Francisco or Tokyo, Sydney. So it's very nice to see you all here, and I hope it's worthwhile. And I'm sure it's worthwhile because we have a very exciting program, and we have a couple of announcements to make. This was a little introduction video of our new platform that we're launching today. So I'm, not only myself, but the entire team, I think it's a big day for ePages. It's the biggest launch of a new product that we've done in 15 years since we took over the products from InnerShop. So today is really the day for us, and we're very eager to get some response from all of you about the new products that we've been working on for the last couple of years. But before I go into the new products, I want to talk about e-commerce in general, and especially, of course, e-commerce for SMBs, because that's what this is all about that we're doing here. This is the reason why we're hosting this Commerce Summit as an event that's a little different from all the other e-commerce events in the sense that it addresses specifically small businesses. And that's why we're always trying, not only to talk about ePages and ePages products, but also invite industry experts, other companies and CEOs of the industry that is serving SMBs. So we're very happy to have, a few founders and CEOs here of companies that are really making a big difference and are going to make a big difference in the SMB market. Companies like Shore.com, for instance, partners like 1&1 and Strato, and many others that are here today and tomorrow to talk about the SMB space. And I want to start, with the size of the market and the opportunity that's in the market. I mean, we all witness all around us that shopping is everywhere, online, offline, on different devices, mobile devices, of course, maybe in the future on other devices as well. And what are the major trends that are driving this phenomenal growth? So we've identified 5 major trends that are really influencing the SMB market and driving the SMB market. The first one is, of course, marketplaces. We all witness that, the importance of marketplaces, but it's even growing further. So the estimate is that in 2020 is going to be 40% of the entire online retail. So pretty significant. So if you're in the space, if you want to sell things online, you have to, in one or the other way, deal with a question: what do you want to do with these marketplaces? And how do you want to get traffic there, or do you want to sell your products on marketplaces or not? And the second thing is, of course, mobile traffic. We all witness that, especially as we're here using our mobile devices, and mobile traffic has already overtaken desktop, and that will continue to surge. So not having a mobile strategy is not an option. And third thing that I want to point out is omni-channel, and it's long been a competitive market between offline retailers and online retailers, but now this is all coming together, and even, most offline retailers also realize that without digitization, without connecting to the online consumers, there is no future in retail. And the fourth thing that we discover increasingly now with social media getting more important, or getting really important, is the ability for SMBs to do storytelling and use social media to target their specific audience for their product or for their services. And I think there are great opportunities that are untapped today that more SMBs could be using to find customers in the online space. And the last thing is cross-border, and what we all
see in statistics. You're going to see a lot more statistics in the next upcoming presentation here by Ann-Kathrin Hamke from Statista. But I have a few statistics also in my presentation. One that's really important to understand is that the overall online market is growing by 10 to 12% roughly this year. But cross-border is growing twice as fast. So not dealing with this huge opportunity to sell abroad would be a big mistake. I've kind of for myself sorted this in 4 different categories. So scenarios, the most obvious one is searching online, but then there's also inspiration, and then experience, things and then B2B. And the main players, as we know, in the search space are Google and increasingly Amazon and pricing portals like Idealo and eBay. And in the inspirational space, where we see mostly social media being the biggest influence, the big players like Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and others are making a big difference now for online shopping. And my own personal example is when I come home, I often see packages arriving at our home. And when I asked my partner Tanya, who's here, what is this? Do we really need this? Or how did you find this? And more than often she says, well, Wilfried, I didn't find this. It found me. So where did it find you? It found you on Facebook. But that's what I mean with the if you don't use these platforms to target your audience, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And then the next one is, of course, what we've been focusing on the last couple of years is creating brand experience for with the online shops that we're creating, that our customers and partners are creating, and hopefully they will be good enough to keep customers coming back to their stores. And but it's leaving that as your only strategy, as I pointed out before, is can't be the option. So you have to extend your strategy beyond your online storefront. And we have a couple of very interesting tracks about this, covering all of these subjects here. For instance, we have a track with some of the pricing portals like Idealo and eBay. Talking about it, so I encourage you to go there. We have tomorrow. We have in the merchant track a presentation of Facelift, giving you more insight into the opportunities that you have with social media. And tomorrow also we have a brand experience workshop here with Christoph Hildebrand and Gregor Busch, who have a lot of insight from big companies where they've helped to create brands, but some of that can certainly also be applied to smaller companies. So I invite you to go visit that. And then last one is, of course, B2B, where we're seeing a huge transition going digital. So all processes in the B2B area are disrupted and are digitized. And if you don't do that, you're again missing out on some opportunities to save costs and speed up processes and whatnot. So for me, these are the distinct 4 different things that we need to be looking at. And one thing that's obvious in the search area is the dramatic shift that we've seen the last couple of years from traditional search on search engines like Google to Amazon. And just to illustrate that in a few numbers here, this is December 2014. Google was still owning that space with more than 50% market share in search. And this is only, by the way, for people who want to buy things online. Of course, Google has a much bigger impact than that for people who want to buy offline. But this research is specifically, asking people who want to buy online, where do you start your search? And then a year later, in 2015, it was about even. And then last year, December, not too long ago, Amazon reached more than 50%. So you can see a dramatic shift in product search away from traditional search engines to Amazon. So this is an impact that we cannot ignore. So we have to deal with the fact that more and more people are using Amazon as the de facto standard to buy everything online. So in addition to that, we see the impact of mobile devices, where people are increasingly using apps. In the social media space, that's almost 100% of usage is through apps. And even in shopping, there's huge increase of consumers using pre-configured apps that they have on their phones to go search for products, instead of using a traditional browser. And I think we have a panel here with eBay and Idealo, so I think you will get some more insight into that in that panel as well. But it's something you need to reckon with. We're seeing this economy of companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, Amazon, platform economy that we have to deal with in one or the other way. And on the one side, they're gatekeepers for these markets, but on the other side, they're also enablers. So they bring you huge amounts of traffic, but you somehow have to be part of that. And then in the future, maybe there are even more devices that could be gatekeepers, or could also be enablers for your sales efforts. And we don't know the impact yet entirely what these new devices will have. But so maybe I could ask you, who of you has used Alexa to buy a product yet? Anybody here in the audience? No. There's one. So only one person here who's been using that. But if I would have asked maybe 5 years ago, who bought things that you were inspired to buy through Facebook, maybe the number would have been the same. So just 5 years later, we have an entirely different behavior of users, as users have gotten used to these new channels. And that could happen here. I'm not entirely sure whether it happens, but we all need to be prepared. And that's also gone into the development of our new products, that we want to be able to talk to these devices. We actually have, I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, we have a slot in the developer track where we're showcasing how to talk to Alexa through the ePages shop. And so very nice. Our developers did that, I think, in just a day in one of the hackathons we recently did, and they connected to Alexa. Very impressive in just a single day to make that work. So now I want to go to like a real-world example of shopping, and of course, my daughter Lisa had to be part of this presentation. She was born 5 weeks ago. She's really cute and entirely changed our life. But as you can see on this picture here, she's already surrounded with retail, with products that we received over the last 4 to 5 weeks from friends and family all around the world and all across the country. And some are here in the room. If I haven't thanked you yet, big thanks for thinking of us. And Lisa here, she has already, I think, 4 or 5 Steiff teddy bears. I only had one when I was a child, but I was carrying it around, I think, almost my entire time until I was 4 or 5. And so she already has 5 Steiff teddy bears here. And so I wonder, I wanted to look into that, where did people buy that? How did people find it? Or how did it find people? And so I started my search here in my neighborhood. It's just, I live right next door. And there's a little kids store, this beautiful kids store, Claire and Zoe, 2 blocks away. And they, of course, also have Steiff teddy bears. And the retail price for that is, I think, $49.90. And they're selling that at $39.90. And I know for sure that at least one of the teddy bears that arrived were bought in this beautiful store. And but then I tried to search on Google for Steiff teddies, And for those of you who are not from Germany, who haven't come across Steiff teddies or are from other parts of the world where it's maybe not that popular, it's a real iconic German product. So it's the most typical thing that you want to own, or that you want your baby to have. And so when you search for it, you get about 6 million search results, and of course you see the typical layout. You see on the right side the local search results. There's a Steiff flagship store in Hamburg that's displayed here with opening hours and everything. And on the top you see Google Shopping. Not sure about the EU regulation, how that will change that maybe, but right now it's still there. And then you see the natural search result. There's one ad, which is by Steiff itself. The first 3 entries, I think it's too small for you maybe to see, but the first 3 entries are Steiff itself. And then there's only a few others left, and 3 of them are marketplaces or search engines. So the first one here down below, at the bottom is Idealo and eBay. So again, you could be there through those pricing portals. And of course, in the middle is Amazon. You can search for almost everything on Google, and you will always see, of course, Amazon is somewhere on the first page. Would be very surprising if not. And because they always have 5 stars, consumers are very likely to go to Amazon. So I checked all the others as well. I checked Idealo and I checked eBay, and actually, the results that you get once you go there are much nicer than the ones you get on Amazon. So the way how they sort things and let you select things afterwards, so the whole after search navigation is a lot nicer on all these other platforms, which is a bit surprising to me because most people may not know that, but the way Amazon started after they sold, in the beginning they sold books, but then the next thing they did was gifts. In one of my very old presentations, in 1998, I was showcasing Amazon to the Otto group here, and I kept the screenshot, and it was they had just started to sell gifts. So that's how the world's largest retailer today started. But if you go there, the dilemma is, of course, if you want to sell as an SMB on the Amazon marketplace, is that your biggest competitor will most likely always be Amazon itself. And so in this case, the Steiff teddy bear, I've already clicked through the first instance. So if you don't go through the first instance, you will most likely always buy, at least popular products, you will buy directly from Amazon. But if you click one further to see what's the selection of other vendors where you as SMBs have a chance to sell through Amazon, then you get to this buying box here. But then again, Amazon is at the very top, and of course, you have no chance to be there if you're not if you're not offering Amazon Prime, meaning free shipment. And you can see that the first 2 entrants here are both Amazon Prime, and what's a bit surprising is maybe that the second one has the exact same price as Amazon, and of course is second. What's working behind the scenes in most of these cases are repricing engines. So even if you would lower the price, then the repricing engines of merchants that are focusing on sales on Amazon will work against you in most cases if you don't have repricing engines yourself. So it's very hard to get to the top of the list here. And so what I suggest is let's look at some alternatives, if you want to sell these types of gifts. So I'm, one of the teddy bears that were on the first slide with my daughter was actually it's called Flat Bear from Australia. And it's just like Germany with the Steiff teddy bear, it's an iconic product in Australia. It's made out of Australian lamb wool, and it's very, just as popular as Steiff is in Germany, it is in Australia. And this store here, also an ePages store done by eCorner, our Australian partner, Urban Baby. I just wanted to, show you how they do that. So they do this, what I mentioned earlier, storytelling, talking about the product and who's using the product. And in this case, it's, they describe the flat bear how it's made, how high quality, etc. But they also described that Hollywood stars are using it. Princess Mary has one for her kids, and J-Lo. Yeah. So how can you not want this product if J-Lo has that? And so that's what I mean with adding content and do a little bit of storytelling to get people to have this great brand experience on your website. And then the second one is what I mentioned earlier as a niche product. Here's a German store that's selling just baby beds, and that's all they do. They're not like Baby Valls selling everything. They're just focusing on one thing, but they do that very, very well. So on their site, they explain exactly what the differences are and how you can configure that, and different sizes and different materials and whatnot. So they're a really great niche player. And that brings me to the small business in general that we're focusing on. And we are immensely proud, and it gives us a lot of fun working with these very passionate small retailers that often know their space much better than some of the large players out there. And I wanted to give you, we have 10,000s of these types of resellers, and I just want to pick 5 of them to give you an idea of what they're doing and how they're doing that. The first one is Golla, and you should have all received at the registration a little nice bag from Golla. It's a Finnish company selling these really nice designed bags, high quality. I've been using one for years now, and it's still like almost as new. So I hope you will keep yours for a while and carry the ePages brand around a little bit. And they're here. They have a booth downstairs, so you can look at the the range of products they have. The second one is Daniel Dimker here in Hamburg. He opened a store on ePages a few years ago. In the beginning, just an online store selling motorcycle lifestyle equipment, but very focused just on like hipster style. And so, if you are in this space of hipster style motorcycle products, then you will probably know his store. It's, I think it's the best one in Germany. And the fun thing is that most of his competitors have also come to ePages. So it's been an interesting fact that when he was using ePages and people looked towards him, that all the others thought, well, this is a nice platform. Maybe I should also use that. And he recently opened even a physical store, which is also quite successful. So he's making, has a really nice growth and really successful little niche business. And the next one here is Kickerkult. They're also here downstairs and showcasing their kicker table. And I came across them because our developers who are, as you can imagine, they're using the kicker table quite often. So they, at some point in time, they needed a higher quality kicker table because the ones we had were not good anymore. And so we looked around and they said, well, Wilfried, this is the type, this is the high quality kicker table, professional kicker table that we want. And then I noticed it's an ePages store. So I called the guy and got Oke Harms on the phone. And so he explained me everything about the quality of kicker tables. And it's no surprise because he is the world champion in kicker table. And so that's what I mean. It didn't come across really in the beginning as much as it could have. So we offered him to do a little design changes, and we did a little video with him and stuff, so that it comes more across what his passion is and what his expertise is in kicker tables. And we actually were able to buy one at a much lower price than we had originally anticipated, because he also builds kicker tables himself, which are exactly the same quality as some of the higher priced brands. And all of that information you could not possibly get across if you are just selling on marketplaces. Yeah. And so for him, I think it's an important part of his business to have a really good presence where all this comes across. And then the last one here is Bodram. It's a friend of mine, and he's a drummer in the musical here in Hamburg, in Lion King. He's the main drummer there, and he configured these drums that he's using for events and for selling it to groups and to kids and studios. And he's actually coming here also. He'll be here this afternoon, and he will be there, I think, in the evening event and also tomorrow doing some exercising. So if you're into it, using drums and getting some of the stress out, you're more than invited to join him and play the drums. Another, as I said, it's just one product. Yeah, it's a very niche product. That's all he does, but he does that really, really well. And then the next thing I wanted to show you in a little bit more in depth is, and we have made a little video, is an espresso discount store. Unfortunately, it's in German. I think most of you understand German very well. There are some here who don't, so I apologize. We do these kind of testimonial videos in more languages, but for this purpose here, I thought I'd pick this one.
Mein Name ist Stefan Langer. Ich bin selbstständig im internationalen Import von Lebensmitteln jeglicher Art. Die Leidenschaft für Kaffee hat sich entwickelt natürlich durch Reisen. Sehr gerne in Spanien, sehr gerne in Italien, sehr gerne in Frankreich. Man kriegt überall fantastischen Kaffee. Und das war eigentlich so dieser Impuls dafür zu sagen, das brauchen wir in Deutschland auch. Das müssen wir auch in Hamburg haben. Und natürlich ist das ein leidenschaftliches Produkt. Es schmeckt gut, es riecht gut, hat immer gute Atmosphäre. Ich denke mir, dass die Leute bei mir kaufen. Erstmal, weil ich schon sehr, sehr lange in dem Bereich arbeite. Ich in vielen Bereichen auch Speerspitze war mit bestimmten Produkten. Das vermittelt schon, glaube ich, ein gewisses Vertrauen am Kunden. Ich habe mich für einen Online-Shop entschieden, weil ich gemerkt habe, dass ich bestimmte Kundenkreise, gar nicht erreiche. Also der Markt ist einfach viel, viel größer geworden. Wir haben es geschafft, über einige Grenzen hinwegzugehen, wo wir vorher gar nicht waren. Und das ist natürlich ein Riesenvorteil für uns. Dem Kunden ist es definitiv wichtig, so unkompliziert wie möglich abzuwickeln, dass er einfach ganz präzise an Produktinformationen kommt und dann natürlich Versandkosten, Nebenkosten, diese ganzen Geschichten, dass die entweder gar nicht da sind oder eben transparent dargestellt sind. Also Transparenz, Ehrlichkeit, Aufrichtigkeit ist dem Kunden definitiv ganz wichtig. Zahlungsmethoden, in dem Bereich ist natürlich PayPal ganz stark vertreten. Wir haben die Möglichkeit, mit Kreditkarte zu bezahlen. Wir haben die Möglichkeit, mit Lastschrifteinzug zu arbeiten, mit Vorkasse zu arbeiten. Die Rechtssicherheit im Internet spielt eine immer größere Rolle und mit dem ePages Shop bin ich rechtlich eben auch gut abgesichert. Die Designentwicklung, die Gestaltung des Online-Shops ist nicht unser Thema. Also wir sind natürlich sehr dankbar, dass wir mit dem ePages Shop auch die Designkomponente und die Gestaltung des Shops in professionelle Hände abgeben konnten. Mit dem Online-Shop werden wir natürlich wachsen, natürlich in anderen Sprachen, weil wir wollen natürlich ganz klar andere Märkte auch ansprechen über diesen Shop. Mit ePages sind wir direkt 1:1 am Kunden dran. Das finde ich sehr positiv, weil wir sind direkt als Firma der Ansprechpartner für die Kunden. Gegen die großen Marktplätze sind ja Umwege, die da tatsächlich gegangen werden müssen. Und hier ist einfach ein direkter Weg, das finde ich sehr schön.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it much better. So a lot of the things that I talked about, he mentioned in this short video here. So that completes my little overview of what I think are the most important facts in the online space for SMBs and a few examples. And now I want to talk about technology, which I mentioned initially that we're launching our new product here. But before we started to develop the product, we first looked at the market and we're thinking about our next generation product. How do we really want to position ePages and where's the interesting space? And so we looked at a few numbers and I have a few here. Like what we're seeing is 59% of all retail businesses don't even have a website yet, so there must be some potential. And there's a lot of new retail companies being founded. Just in Germany, 42,000 every year. New retail companies being founded, all of these businesses being startups, and the idea was, or the thought was, that a lot of these businesses will probably be pure online businesses. So there must be some opportunities to sell solutions to these people. And overall, 6 million retail businesses in Europe, and then if you look at the entire market, global market, you see there's a huge potential of people who have already started an online business up, but who are stuck on a legacy system. Maybe a system that doesn't support social media or doesn't support these new devices, and or is maybe not supporting responsive designs, et cetera. So always a very interesting potential for us at ePages to replace systems, and it's something we're actually doing and a lot. And also, as we enter the US market, we're seeing huge potential in replacing those legacy systems.
And then, not only replacing legacy systems, but also replacing all the on-premise systems, because we believe that the future of these solutions has to be in the cloud and will be in the cloud. So I think in the long run, only cloud solutions will be viable, because on-premise solutions are very expensive, at least for SMBs, are too expensive to maintain and to upgrade. And we see that actually a lot when when customers are coming to us that are on-premise solutions. And then when we try to segment that by size of companies, and if you look at our sort of market that we're addressing, which is Europe and North America, in total we have about 50 million SMBs, and that's just registered companies. That does not include people who are selling privately from home, and some of those are also using e-commerce technology. Just registered businesses, 50 million in North America and Europe. But they're, of course, they come in all kinds of different sizes. So they're micro businesses. The vast majority of these are micro businesses, companies with less than 5 or 10 people, 43 million. And then some of these businesses have bigger investments and are really ambitious and want to grow their business, a little over 5 million. And then we have the ones with serious investments. And when we look at e-commerce budgets that they have, typically we've categorized that the micro businesses probably in most cases have less than 10,000 that they want to spend on their e-commerce technology, often much less than that. And the ambitious ones, they're anywhere between 10,000 and 100,000 typically, at least in the beginning. And then the serious investments are above 100,000. And then the large enterprises, this does not include global Fortune 500 companies, but even in the SMB space, you have what we call in German Mittelstand. And there are some pretty large Mittelstand companies that are still considering themselves as SMBs. And when you look at what kind of companies are covering this broad market here, you quickly find at the high end, there's most likely SAP and Oracle, Salesforce, and IBM. We actually have IBM here in one of the next slots today. And then when you go a little lower, the range between 100,000 and $1 million investment, there's often companies like Spryker or Magento with their framework approach. And when you go on the left side to those micro businesses, there's of course, and the right side for us was pretty clear that we didn't want to enter that first, because that's not where we're coming from, that's not where our expertise is. So we were quickly excluding everything that was to the right, because there are pretty good solutions already that we don't, and that's not our identity. So we were looking at these two remaining markets, and when you look to the left, you see that this is mostly covered by website builders. Some is covered by platforms like Facebook and eBay or Etsy, where small businesses are just selling on that platform. And when you look at the ambitious ones, none of the ambitious ones would be happy with just what eBay provides or what Facebook provides or what any of the website builders provide. So in this space that's maybe the most interesting for SMBs, there are quite a few companies that are doing a very good job in providing e-commerce solutions. Companies like Shopify, WooCommerce, Shopware, or PrestaShop. But most of these companies are only in their own region. So there's very few of these are covering international like we do. And so we saw an opportunity, or we're seeing an opportunity here to bridge that gap between the little guys who are stuck with their limited solution and the ambitious ones who are maybe stuck with their regional solution. So the way how we are positioning ePages is in between. Maybe sometimes not an easy spot to be in between two areas, but we think that going forward with a high volume and high potential in the SMB space, we need to get the people in the very beginning where they have small budgets and start to grow them from there into the area where they're willing to spend more money. So this is the way how we positioned our new technology and how we, trying to size it. And when you look at it, what's quite rewarding for us. There was a recent review of the top 1 million websites that are using e-commerce, and we came out at the top. It's actually that the top 3 platforms in terms of growth last year, according to VentureBeat, were all platforms that are focusing on the SMB space. Shopify, of course, as the big gorilla in there, at least when it comes to valuation, but also WooCommerce, the platform on WordPress. And so we were very happy to be up there in the top 3. IBM, by the way, the first enterprise platform here being number 4. So that's all confirming to us that this is a nice space to be in. And then the next question for us was, what's the kind of technology behind it that we need to provide with the scenarios that I described earlier. Things going away maybe from a pure shop front end into more areas. So the first thing that we defined was, we got to be optimized for the cloud. We've always been a cloud solution, but maybe we should even more focus on a really pure cloud distribution. We wanted to develop in distributed teams. We wanted automated continuous updates. We already have shifted our current product to continuous updates. So every 2 weeks, our customers are getting automated, seamless upgrades when we fix bugs or we add features. But in the future, we believe that we might be able to even do several updates a day. Any time when a developer finishes something or fixes a bug or improves something, we want to just click on a button and update the solution. And we want to benefit from open source because the world is increasingly complex. We can't develop everything ourselves, so we're putting a lot of emphasis on using standard industry frameworks in the open source area. And lastly, we wanted to, in this fast-changing world, we wanted it to be easy to change and to maintain. Because it's not about, do I know what's going to be succeeding in 5 years from now? Which feature? Is it Alexa, or is it something else? I want to be flexible enough to adapt to that. And that's more important than being able to foresee what's really selling in 5 years from now. So our next generation platform is set on solid ground. It uses industry standards. On the front end, we're using React, on the back end, Spring Boot, and you can see all the things here, Docker and Kubernetes for delivery. So it's really, there are a lot of developers out there who are very familiar with these technologies. So it's a lot easier for us to hire developers than it was with the previous platform. And the next thing we decided was that if we want to be really, really open, we need to move to a microservices technology. And what microservices is, it's at the core of it, it's an API-first approach. You build a very fundamental core system that has a great API to offer to developers, very well documented, so that you can add bits and pieces to it, making the whole platform very, very flexible to talk to other platforms or to change things when you need to. So what we're doing effectively is we're moving away, or a little bit away at least, from a pure shop front end. We're moving to something what we're calling an e-commerce cockpit. Just to illustrate that a bit, on the front end, we are able to support buy buttons and websites. Of course, in the middle is our traditional market, the own storefront. We still have a great storefront builder, much improved even over the early generations. But we also want to be able to support marketplaces and, of course, very important in the future, point of sale. So you saw that in my Google frame there, that on the right side, there was the local businesses, the Stey Flextip store. And I can imagine, right now Google doesn't have all the inventory of these stores. They do have the inventory of hotels and restaurants, so it can already tell you what's the availability of a hotel room. And we imagine that this will even move to retail, and that at some point in time, Google will be able to tell you what's the inventory in the store that's here 2 blocks away, the little kid store. And so we want to be able to connect to point-of-sale systems or to any point of sale system that, for instance, that little kid store is using to show that inventory. And then on the back end, we want to be able to connect to ERP systems that people are already using, or any type of payment system, and of course we're open to app developers. So we have a great app store that we launched about I think 2 years ago, where people can put in their private apps. So today we're launching this product. So right now it was all theory, and it was assumptions that we had. And today the baby is out there, and we're putting it in front of customers. And the first thing that you'll see that is, I think it turned out really beautiful. So it's on any device, the themes that we have on the product, the templates, they all look really beautiful, and they do that on any device. But on top of that, through the microservices strategy, we can also address all the other devices around it. Wherever people are shopping, we can connect to that. That's what I mean with sell anywhere that we have had in this little promotional video here. So now, shopping can really be everywhere with ePages Now, which is the name of our new product. And I wanted to show you a quick animation here how it looks. This is the back office, and you can see I'm scrolling here through some of what we call themes or templates, and you can pick any one of them, and you also can get a little preview of a store. So we do that. Every template has a demo store, so we can look at that, the general look and feel of that theme, how it could be looking with my products. And then there's also the editor on the left. You see all the options you have, so you can quickly add a page. So let's add maybe an image here. We can just drag it in and load it from our files. All quick and easy, very intuitive. And we can create separate pages and start editing those pages. And again, maybe we want to add a video here. We can just drag in the video symbol and load up a YouTube video. And within seconds, we have that page done. And now a nice feature is that you can drag over whole blocks of images, and then as you would assume, you can start loading. Oh, this is the wrong image, so try this again. Let's load another image, and you can see. There we go. And it does, of course, have sliding images and all this stuff that from popular modern storefronts. So let's take a look at the finished product. You can just with a click of a button, you can see how it looks. And this is what it is. You can see the slider up on top here. I think you can imagine how quickly you can set up a really beautiful store with this new storefront editor. So, so very simple. One of the things that are among the mission statements of ePages is simplicity. So we really tried to make the new product a lot simpler to use. We actually abandoned some of the features that we had before in the interest of simplicity, and because we think that's a good thing to move to some core features that are really making a big difference instead of doing every little nitty-gritty features. We want to rather leave that to developers in our ecosystem to develop some of those more specific features, and don't put it into the back office, which starts to become more confusing. And the other thing we wanted to do, we want to streamline our prices. So we've looked at that, and we saw that a lot of our partners had difficulties understanding our pricing schemes. And so we greatly simplified our pricing. So we just have 4 products left. On the left side, you have the most basic product. It's a full-blown shop. You can do all the things that I just showed before. It does have PayPal included at just €15 or £15 a month is the entry-level solution. Very competitive, full-blown product. And then the next one, €25, is a full-blown store that has all the marketing features, pricing portals integrated, lots of selling features in there. And when you move to the next level, you have marketplace is included. At a price point of 50 euros a month, you have eBay and Amazon included. You also have Flower.io, or maybe in the future more POS systems included, so connectivity in there to all these other outlets that you might want to sell to. And on the top of the line, we've put the ability to add private apps to it. So we're put a great emphasis, as I mentioned before, on APIs, and so using development tools in there. Plus, we have 15 languages that we're supporting in the highest version, the XL version. So we believe that this is a nice, setup of products, starting at a minimum feature set, but then growing throughout, all the options that we've been seeing that people really need to be successful. And when I looked at this top group that we saw earlier of the fastest growing SMB platforms, how do we compare there, or how do we believe at least we compare there? I think the biggest difference that we have is the ease of use and the value for money. Certainly all these three platforms are suitable for what I mentioned, I think is the most interesting space, the ambitious merchants, but ePages, Shopify, and WooCommerce are all targeting that. But when it comes to ease of use, I think we have a huge advantage over WooCommerce and even over Shopify. But when it comes to value for money, I think we beat them hands down. Because if you go into Shopify or WooCommerce, you will quickly end up spending hundreds of dollars every month if you want to have a decent solution that I described here before, that we already have maybe at 50 euros a month. So, almost coming to the end here, a lot of people have asked us for years, when are you shipping all this stuff that you're promising, that you're developing on, and that you're talking about? And so that's why I said, today is the day we're starting to ship that. And but before we did that, we had to think about what do we do about our installed base? How do we get them along? How can we transition our installed base? We have 140,000 merchants running on ePages throughout all our partnerships that we have, like 1&1 and Strato and Wilkas I see here, and many others. So that our biggest asset, the huge number of installed base, was also our biggest concern as we move to this new technology. And how do we solve that? And when you look at the integrations that we have on the current platform that's grown over years, almost 20 years of development that's in there, where we added features and functions and deployed new partnerships, lots of different payment methods and shipping methods and pricing portals and whatnot. It's grown incredibly over the years, almost unmanageable now, because we need to continue to support all these integrations. So again, it was created a big headache when we thought about what about all these existing customers? What do they think when we move to something that's entirely new? There's not a single line of code that will be kept once we've rolled out the entire product. And so we came up with a solution for that. We're doing a two-step approach. We're doing a two-step migration to allow our customer base to follow us as we move to some radical new technology. And this, the product is ePages now, but in the first instance that we're rolling out and that we're shipping today, we have what you saw earlier in this little animation, the editor. So everything that in terms of design and look and feel and usability that you have in the back end, and how you configure your store, how you design your store, all the themes that you saw, that's all in the first instance of this new product. So that's what we're shipping today. And in the second instance, which will take a while to deploy, we will have all the microservices technology, all the other stuff that I mentioned. It's mostly there. You'll be able to get your hands on it in the developer track today. And but what's lacking, of course, are all these integrations that we've built over the years. So it will take some time, and some of those maybe we will abandon because they're not really needed anymore. But and in some cases we're also adding completely new features that we don't have in the existing platform. But it will definitely take a little while until all the partners and developers have adopted to this new platform. So we're taking this two-step approach, rolling out the entirely new storefront with but retaining all of the features that we have on the existing platform. And then throughout the 2018, we will keep migrating features and functions to the back office, and then start rolling out the entire new platform to our installed base. So when are some of our partners shipping the whole thing now? We've worked very hard over the last year with the first trial versions of the software, and we've worked very closely with our partners to test that. And I'm very happy to tell you that we already have some partners who are live today, or actually going live today. We've worked with Host My Site in the US. They've been using ePages now for a couple of months now, so we have nice customer feedback. So we're very confident that customers love this new product because Host My Site's been using that for a while. And just last week, La Poste has launched ePages now. It was a silent launch, so they haven't really started all the marketing buzz around it. They will start that next week. So we're very keen. It's been a long-term partner, La Poste in France, for ePages. And if you don't know that, they own a lot of different branches like Yellow Pages where they will roll this out. So they will put this in front, basically with the reach of millions of customers in France that would have access to this new product. They would have never done that, I think, with the quote-unquote old product that we had. They were really looking for this what I call simplicity, for an entry-level product that is very, very easy to use to roll out to their SMB customer base. And lastly, I'm very happy to announce today that our biggest partner, 1&1, is also rolling out ePages now. They've launched it actually yesterday, and so we have a little bit of experience with it. I think there were, within the first 24 hours, there were more than 100 customers already, new customers signing up for the product. So it gives us, again, a lot of confidence. And 1&1 is launching that in 8 countries simultaneously. So it's already live in Germany, in the UK, in France, Spain, and Italy, plus North America. So it's live in the US and in Mexico and Canada. 8 countries that 1&1 has launched simultaneously. And then, of course, more partners will follow shortly. And we've been working with our next big partner, Strato, who's here. You'll see Christian Böing tomorrow in the CEO panel. And we hope to be launching Strato real soon as well. So maybe Christian can answer that tomorrow, what the date is. We have a lot of ambitious merchants on the Strato platform, so I think it's especially important for the installed base of Strato merchants what we're doing there. And of course we have, as you know from the agenda, we have Robert Hoffman, who just arrived here, who will be able to tell you all about the things that 1&1 is planning in his keynote right after lunch. So I'm very happy to have Robert here. Robert's been a great partner for us when we started our negotiations with 1&1 4 years ago. He was sort of my counterpart, and since then, most of you know that 1&1 is also an investor in ePages. So Robert has always been a great partner, and he's on my board, and he's giving us a lot of nice insight into the SMB market, and I am very happy to have him here today to share some of the insights he has from 1&1 into the SMB market, and I think that's at the core of his keynote presentation later on. So you'll be back here after some of the sessions that we spread out in the different tracks. But then, of course, we have one more, yeah? And the one more for us is that we started our own direct platform. We did that silently a few weeks ago. If you go to ePages.com, you'll see that you can book now directly from ePages. And that's, of course, also the ePages, the new ePages Now product. And that's not to compete with our installed base of partners. You can quickly see that we would never be able to have the reach that a 1&1 has or a La Poste has. But it was important for us to have a direct feedback from clients to be working with our support team, to be working with our product management team. So that's something that we felt we lacked over the years, that we were always going through partners, and a lot of the conversations with businesses were indirect. And that's something we're trying to fix with the direct platform. So you won't see big ads or even television ads like you see from companies like Wix and Jimdo. Don't expect that. But we wanted to have a core group of companies working directly with us and giving us feedback. And in addition to that, what it does, it allows us to work with smaller resellers now. Smaller resellers have often told us that the investment in launching ePages was too big. For a company like 1&1 is not a big issue. They create their own landing pages, they have their own big control centers behind it and billing systems and whatnot. But for smaller agencies, getting into this SaaS business was often very difficult. Managing huge amounts of smaller businesses. And even for some companies that have the occasional customer, like some ERP companies that are really focusing on something else, but they wanted to add e-commerce. So we worked with them, and they said, well, why don't you offer it, and you do the direct relationship, and you do the support? Then we would be very interested to work with ePages, to sell it into our client base. And that was one of the other reasons why we decided to build up an own platform that was able to not only let SMBs come directly to us, but also work with some of these other potential partners that we think are important as we move into this very complex scenario of addressing the entire SMB space. And while we have this new platform, we thought that we also want to use it to test out new products. So in addition to the products that 1&1 and others are launching, the ePages Now first step migration that I mentioned, we are in October also launching the first instance of our entire new product. So what the code name for that over the years was Beyond. That was the teams that some of them are here, know that very well. And so it's in the absence of a name that we have for it, I'm calling it ePages Beyond here. So we're launching in October the first platform that is entirely on this new technology. We're launching that for what I call fearless merchants and developers. So it's more like a trial than a final product, and that's why we're not charging for it. So it's going to be €0, and so it's free for the beginning until we feel that it's stable enough and good enough to be that we can charge for it. And so we think this is, for us at least, a very good way to move fast to the exciting new technology that we have. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you got some interesting insights, and there are going to be incredibly more throughout the next 2 days in all of these sessions. And that's ePages today. Still after more than 20 years of doing e-commerce, I think we're at the forefront of what's happening, and I hope that this you agree with me that this is a good strategy. And I'd like to thank all the partners for your patience with us, and I'd like to thank especially our team that's done an incredible work to pull this off for the deadline that we had today. So big thanks to all of you guys. Today's the day. Thanks a lot.